My cabin looks up at 13,000-foot peaks covered with snow. So I think of it as an a mountain nation made by ice, carved by ice, that I live inside a sculpture of, ice was the sculptor, and mountains and glacial moraines are the result of that carving. It's barren and womb-like at the same time. It's both hearse and home. I've traveled with, as I said, Inuit subsistence hunters on dog sleds in a polar desert. These are people for whom ice is life. They've been ice adapted for roughly 20,000 years. Their collective memory is only about ice. Young children still think that the horizon, you're always surrounded by horizon, that at the end of the horizon is not either a place with sun and grass and flowers, nor is it the end of the world, but simply when you get to that horizon, there's more ice and then you'll find another horizon, but there's nothing but ice. And they've been secluded by ice. They never went beyond it. Nobody, until, well, in Russia, the 1750s, in Nunavut, which is Arctic Canada, and Alaska, the mid-1800s. But before then, they lived in a complete nation of ice, unbothered by other people, thriving, not scrambling for food. I mean, there were times of famine, but when you look at the beauty of their culture and the intricacy of their imaginations and their expressions of art and functional items, you realize that they were thriving. They only began to die when white people showed up. So these are people who have no sense of boundary, or whose boundaries are so wide that they go all the way around the world. There's no boundary between human and animal. These are people who can marry polar bears, who, when they hunt polar bears, sometimes a bear will stop at the top of a hill, turn around and have a human face. Then they know that's the bear that can't be killed, who shouldn't be pursued. These are people who imagine marrying, or actually marry seals, and seals marry them. These are people who say, bears can hear everything we say. They lean down with their ears to the earth and listen, and they understand what we say, so we have to speak with dignity, or they won't present themselves to us anymore. When I travel with these hunters, we wear polar bear pants. It's the only thing to keep you warm when you travel for a month at 59 below zero on a dog sled. Their sense of time is wildly elastic. They have words. Their word for winter also means a year. Their ceremonies used to last sometimes not a night of dancing, but maybe a month or two of dancing. That it ended only if somebody saw that the walrus were migrating back up the strait. And then they would say, okay, it's time to end, it's time to hunt. And so they live in a different sense of, they live in a time that's dictated by planetary movement and the movements of animals, rather than by the arbitrary clock or calendar. Once we give ourselves over, completely surrender ourselves, the ecological imagination blooms. The flint and fire can be sparked on anything, everywhere. The kernels of nation upon nation is stacked inside us. Writers are actually squirrels. Writers are also students. Every book is a universe. Writers are generalists who specialize in everything. Every essay, poem, or story is also a book of questions at this point, it's a question of, are we going to live? How are we going to live? How are we going to provide for ourselves and for each other, and to live in dignity and to restore a kind of respect for the world so that we once again listen to what the truths that it's telling us. Every major ecosystem is in collapse. I talk about the Arctic because I think it's important to us in every way. The Arctic is the natural air conditioner of the world. It manages the open ocean ecosystems. It creates a world as we go down towards the equator that's temperate, where we can grow food, where we can grow grapes for wine, where we can live in this sort of interglacial paradise that's now ending. A variety of things could happen if the Gulf Stream comes apart. Actually, the UK and Europe might get terrifically cold. If a huge volcano erupts, such as Yellowstone Park, the warming trend might stop. But the important thing to know is not that we're sure about what's going to happen, but we know that in this that climate change brings on chaotic weather events. And we have to be ready to ride out these storms in a way that makes sense for everybody. I think that if we choose to write about the world on the eve of the 6th mass extinction, we'll have to write out of what's left: floodwaters, a revolving band of hurricanes at the equator, smoke, storm, ash fields, ashfall, the disequilibrium of glaciers, waterlessness, and the tsunami. Out of a trance, we once wrote, I think, in a trance of beauty, the beauty of the world. Now we're going to write in a trance of the beauty of the death of the world and of ourselves. The land is text, and we must learn to read it, to apprentice ourselves to whatever is unfolding, to the dynamics of ice and impermanence, the coming into being and the going out of being, the beholding of essential fullness and emptiness aspects of the world. I think we need to work to develop a sacred perception of the world, which means there is no skin between us, between sacred and secular, between us and animals, us and trees, rocks and carpet. A friend in Alaska said, "The earth possessed us." She also said, "Long ago, people did not live like today. You knew how something was connected to the center and therefore together." We have to learn to write in these ecological fluxes, to move tracklessly, and to arrive at the unexpected. Thank you.
Thank you very much.